Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel for our weekly recap series, where we'll be looking at teases, pre-order announcements, releases for the week, anything newsworthy in the 1/6 scale world that might not merit its own video. And this was, it felt like, a packed week, with the big Inart Harry Potter announcement and the Hot Toys Batman, as well as some of the figures we're going to be looking at here. But before jumping into things, I have to outline my mandatory disclaimer. First of all, I'm not affiliated with any of these companies. I'm not affiliated with any resellers either, and I'm not using these videos as sales posts, which is why I don't post links for purchasing these. Purpose of these videos is just to discuss interesting news posted essentially on social media that impacts 6 scale figure collecting, and in particular pieces that I find interesting or products that I'm tempted to get for my own collection and I just want to talk about. And I do think once pictures go public for announcement, it's pretty much up for discussion. So with that out of the way, let's jump right into things, and we're going to start with teases. And both teases for this week are coming to us courtesy of Exo6 for us Star Trek fans. And they essentially came through an email newsletter, with the first tease being Lieutenant Tom Paris from Star Trek Voyager. Now, I think this figure is coming with a little controversy, namely with the likeness to Tom Paris. In the picture, I don't think it's completely there. I also don't think it's a total miss. There's definitely some Tom Paris there, but it's a little bit off. Is it enough to deter me from picking him up? No way. I have the Ensign Kim on order, and would be a total shame not to pick up his best friend. And with B'Elanna incoming, the main Voyager crew should be wrapping up soon. Not sure when he's going to be up for pre-order, but based on this, I think it's imminent. Again, I know he's not the most exciting figure, but as part of that core Voyager crew, I'm definitely looking forward to adding him. Next up was a small little teaser kind of hidden underneath the picture of Paris, and it seems to be teasing the Wrath of Khan figures for summer pre-order. So again, no exact date, but Exo6 has been teasing those for a while now, including potentially a Savick. So it'll be great to finally be able to order these. And I will say this, every release I've gotten from Exo6 has been an improvement over the previous, so I have pretty high expectations for these particular figures. Now, moving on to announcements, and we have a pretty decent number of these to go through. So we'll start with Hot Toys and the launch of their Across the Spiderverse line of figures. And they kick things off with a new version of Miles Morales, which I think is appropriate for the line. I think the previous Miles from the original was a great release and a pretty loaded up package, so it's nice to see this continue that same trend. Now, there are some changes to the suit. The webbing texture is a little more muted, and it just feels like a more finished suit overall. As far as the overall set that we're getting, I think for me the big plus on this one is that you're getting that entirely a civilian attire look for Miles that can conceal his suit. And it looks awesome, with the jacket, the hoodie, the basketball jersey. I mean, you're getting a civilian Miles, and if I were collecting this line, it would be tempting to pick up a spare body to have both looks on display. Now, from a posability point of view, it looks great, as you would expect from any Hot Toys Spidey figure. And he does include a ton of web attachments, different eyes, as well as that nice, albeit plastic, animated Spidey sense attachment for his head that just gives you a variety of display options. But my favorite accessory here, without a doubt, are these portal elements with a hand and a foot sticking out. I don't remember the name of the villain that Miles is fighting here. I think it might be the Spot or something, but I like that it creates a very dynamic element for Miles to be fighting without needing to have a complete additional figure. So I really do like this one. Now, I'm not collecting the line since I've decided to forgo the animated stuff, but I think if you are, it's a nice figure to add. And if you're an MCU collector like I am, they're still tempting because it feels like this animated universe is going to blend into the Venomverse, which we've already seen blend into the MCU proper. So I don't think it would be out of place. Just for me, I'm trying to stay away from those animated looking release of like the What If line as well. Now, the second release from the line is the more controversial of the two, which is the 2099 version of Spidey, voiced by Oscar Isaac in the movie. And this is really where, for me, the excitement of the line got a little derailed. And look, I know I'm not the only one saying this. If you watch any of the other streams online from other collectors, I think they've had very similar comments. But the issue is the figure, just when looking at it, looks cheap. Now, cost-wise, it's $250, which seems to be way less than other figures we're getting now, but it's still not an inexpensive figure. And the problem to me is that it doesn't feel like a high-end product, and it's really a combination of two things for me. The first, the exposed joints, including the torso joints and the leg joints at the upper legs where they meet the torso. Now, by themselves, the exposed joints aren't something that typically bothers me. I have lots of figures that I defend with exposed joints, but what makes this one worse is that second thing that I was mentioning, which is that the figure appears to be a solid plastic mold. And while the design of the suit and the body overall looks good with the proportions, it just doesn't look good. And because of that plastic, the figure feels less high-end than it should. By comparison, look at that recently released Carnage figure that I reviewed. That has exposed joints, but they're nicely blended in, and the rest of the figure really feels high-end. Even the Avatar Jake Sully I have has some nicely located pieces of armor that hide the visible joints. And the material choice and the paint applications on the body tend to distract you from those joints a little bit. Here, that plastic finish doesn't really leave anything to the imagination, and it hurts. It feels like, honestly, maybe they should have used this body as the base and then applied a suit over the top to hide those really exposed elements. I think that would have gone a long way in improving the feel of this one. And look, figure is clearly highly posable as one would want, but the amount of exposed joints, again, is just what hurts. And it's a shame because, I mentioned, I think the body that we got overshadows the positives here, including that really great looking unmasked sculpt and those laser effects that connect to the figure. Not sure if Hot Toys is going to fix this at this point or just take the plunge, but I think overall the figure just feels very disappointing. So it's an easy pass, I think, especially with some of the other figures out for pre-order now and still coming up. Next up, leaving Hot Toys behind, from Flashpoint Toys, we are getting not one, but two versions of the Atlantis princess, aka Mera from Aquaman and the Justice League movies. And the first version is, I guess, what we're going to call the standard one, based on her normal appearance in the movies. And the second is the version from that final scene in Zack Snyder's Justice League, with that Nightmare Future epilogue, which, as a side note, and unfortunately, we'll never get closure on. So I think both versions actually turned out decently here. And if that future Flash was any indication of what Flashpoint Toys can do, I think this is going to be a great way to complete that Nightmare Vision lineup. And I do think third party for Mera makes sense here. I know Inart has teased that she's in their lineup, but the question becomes, is Mera worth those Inart prices of $350 up to $600 depending on the package? And look, I don't mean to yuck on someone else's yum, because I'm sure that there are some collectors really looking forward to this one, but I'm more thinking, does it make sense for Inart to invest in that figure from a business perspective? So I say this because I think as a third-party figure, it definitely opens up the market a little bit for a secondary character. So as for the figure itself, starting with the sculpt, I actually think it's pretty solid. Again, not 100% there, but I think it's a pretty good effort overall. And I do like the color variance in the hair with the more vibrant red for the basic release, as opposed to the muted color on the Nightmare version. And I think that's a key thing to note. They're basically the same figure, just with different colors on the clothing and the hair and slightly different accessories. I do like the work that went into her clothing though. It's not just screen printed, and it looks like it's actually textured scale-like clothing with nice armored elements throughout. My favorite of the two though is that Nightmare version. I think in the movie that one stood out the most for me and was visually striking. And I like that she comes with that tattered cape of sorts, as well as what I'm guessing is an Atlantean rifle, as well as the trident. I think if you are putting together that Nightmare scenario Justice League, this figure will look great and really help complete that line. I'm passing because, just like with Star Wars, my present day DC collecting is much more targeted. And with the Flash movie coming, I have to try to budget for those figures. In particular, now that we've got Keaton Bats, I'm hoping for a Supergirl figure. But I think Mera looks great, and if budget were no issue, I would definitely be tempted to pick her up. Next, we have to talk Ada Wong from the Resident Evil 4 remake, because we got two announcements this week to go along with the previous Duck Toys clothing set. So I think it's clear that she's a popular character, and that Duck Toy set was really tempting to me when it came out, as someone that's trying to complete my Resident Evil set. But the first one is coming courtesy of SW Toys, and someone told me in one of the comments for a video that I posted that they also did release a Jill Valentine, which I unfortunately missed. But this one I think looks really good. And of course it's a full figure, so that is a big plus to me. Now, surprisingly, this SW Toys version comes with a rolling eye system. So look, I feel like third party's getting a little fancy here with their figures. But overall, I think it looks great. I'm not sure on likeness because I haven't played the remake. I played the original release for Nintendo GameCube, so that might date me a little bit. But I think the sculpt is great. The clothing set and the gun holsters all look really well done, and she comes with a nice assortment of accessories and weapons, including the submachine gun. So I think this version is definitely my favorite of the two we're getting. Just an overall, I think, great looking figure. It looks pretty posable too, and it's just a well-rounded package with everything here. Now, I didn't include the pictures of this pre-order exclusive, but you get this alternate clothing set that I'm guessing might be from an alternate skin in the game. So you're getting something extra, but honestly, that it looks a little ridiculous. Not at all how I would choose to display the figure. I mean, there's video game logic and then suspension of disbelief with everything, but I think this is just a bit too much. Again, though, everything here accessory-wise looks great. Weapons all have nice detailing to them, and I feel the same way about the accessories. But like I said, there is another version coming from Master Team, and what can I say other than it's Ada Wong again? And guess what? This one comes with a rolling eye system as well. So I think that's something we should start expecting a lot more of in the coming days. Sculpt-wise, again, not sure about accuracy, but in some shots she looks a little maybe too young. It's a solid sculpt overall, and it's different from the SW Toys one. Actually, fairly different. Maybe detail work on the hair is a little better on this one, but I think overall I still prefer the SW Toys version better. I like the holsters more on that one as well. Nothing wrong with these, but I think the other ones just look more accurate and like they have slightly finer detail to them. Accessory wise, this one also does feel a little light. It comes with the grappling gun and a pistol, but doesn't include that submachine gun. So as an overall package, just feels not as full as the other version we looked at. Oh, and I should mention, other critical difference, I think this is apparently just a clothing set with a sculpt like the Duck Toys one. So not a full figure. Body's apparently a TB League one, so just keep that in mind. But I think overall I would prefer getting a total set off the bat. So I'll be picking up an Ada, and while I was hoping to wait for Damn Toys to launch that RE4 line, I think the SW Toys one is going to be a suitable alternate for now. But nice that we're getting some love for Resident Evil. And now, for new releases, two very exciting ones for me, starting with the Hot Toys Scarlet Witch from WandaVision. Finally, after countless delays, she has been released and she looks great. I think the sculpt retained the detail from the proto. Suit looks incredible. I think it was worth the wait, and I'm looking forward to getting her in hand. And also, it does look like Sideshow is already shipping. I did reach out to see where mine is because I did get a little impatient. I was told they're getting them in small batches, so I guess I still have a little bit of waiting to do, but glad overall that she finally saw the light of day, and now I can switch over to waiting for the version from the Multiverse of Madness. But overall, glad this one didn't disappoint. Second release for this week, also from Hot Toys, is Sylvie from the first season of Loki. And she's another one that turned out great. I don't think I've seen anyone get their shipping notices for her yet, but glad to see her come out and turn out really well. I know some people are saying that it doesn't look exactly like the actress, but I think the likeness is actually really solid. I have to say, overall, I think this was a pretty good week from Hot Toys with some great announcements and releases, maybe to make up for that $20.99 Spidey. And of course, like I said, you got that big Harry Potter and Batman announcement. So lots of choices out there for us collectors. And I think it's time for us to, in case you weren't already doing that, to look really carefully at our budgets. Now, let me know what you think about any of these releases, or if there's anything I might have missed that you would recommend I look into. And for those of you in the States, this is a holiday weekend, so hopefully you'll all have a good break. And thanks for watching, and if you are enjoying the content, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing, and we'll touch base on the next video.